Hey, it's Joey Balladonna here from Anthrax, and this is SAGAS.
Well,
Oh, oh, look, this is a big one.
I didn't break out and join the podcast today.
It is now time for Devil's Advocate. Same time, same place, awesome.
What's going on, everybody? This is Corbin, the Serpent Tongue Skipwith.
And this is Ran the Berserker Marabou. And this is
Sagas.
Woo! Sagas, welcome.
Welcome, everybody. This is the 40th episode of Sagas. We're pretty hyped.
Wow.
Last week we had Brad from Mailing and the Sons of Disaster on. It was an amazing episode. It should be up now. And as custom here in Sagas, we let the guests choose the album we cover the week after. And he chose the 2018 album Arson by the band Harakiri for the Sky. So, my first impressions on this album is it kind of reminded me of the best way I could describe it was like post rock metalcore. That's what it sounded like to me. But then upon further investigation, apparently it's black metal, which I didn't really get that much black metal vibes, to be honest, which kind of sounds a bit, condescending, like here I am telling the band what they're not. If they say they're black metal, I guess, who am I to say they're not? But it didn't give me that vibe the whole time I was listening to it. It just sounded like one of these interesting combinations of, it kind of sounded like a post-hardcore continuous metalcore vibe. Continuous in that it just sounds like one whole song kind of cut into 8 tracks, because it sounds like forever going, like one of these one of those types of albums you hear normally in prog metal, or like even the what is it called, the rockabilly albums can sometimes sound a bit like that. So it's just like a continuous string of songs, but they sound like one because you can't really tell where the cutting point is sometimes. There's a lot of math rock bands that do that, like Animals for Presidents, I think that's what the band was called. But regardless, no, Animals is Leaders. Animals is Leaders. That's the bad thing. Like the instrumental band, they're very continuous in their style too. So my initial reaction was I was a bit taken back from the combination, like I said, post-hardcore, metalcore, and then the continuous style, which you don't normally hear from metalcore, even though they're black metal. But the guitar riffs, the production, it just all sounded like a classic kind of mid-2000s metalcore album to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's riddled with post-hardcore, and I was saying to you before, like that just sent me back to, the music that really got me excited about riffing and detuning and jumping around the stage like a madman. Like, I was very surprised when he suggested this album, because I didn't realize, but I had already heard this band, but I just didn't connect the dots. And yeah, I was telling you before about this really iconic album cover that they have for the next album after this one, I think. And it's like a wolf pulling off his own face. And I'd listened to that album before, but I didn't listen to it like, intently. I just kind of heard bits and pieces of it. And I knew I liked it, but having like an unusual name, it's easy to forget. But
Yeah.
I was really happy when I went back listening to it for Brad's choice here. Because like it can be chalk or cheese or Marmite, like I said to you before, bro. It can be something that people either love or hate or gravitate to or run away from. Because there's that really intense vibe of this style of post-hardcore where it's interesting. The thing about the black metal that I think that they introduce on this album is mainly a percussive thing. It's mainly like a rhythmic thing in certain sections. What's really cool is that it's 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 black metal with atmospheric kind of post rock sort of vibe, like you say, with the metalcore, but it's really direct. It's like atmospheric, and it kind of has this like soundscape, but it's a real direct sound as well. And I think that's what I find really interesting about these boys. And plus the fact that it's just well, it's two boys, right? It's a duo really behind the band, and they have a band that goes on tour with them. But it's incredible stuff when you think of it as just a duo, you know?
Yeah. You know, when I was trying to find the best way to describe how the similarities with this album compared to others I've heard in the past, the one album that comes up, which I feel that they were trying to go for the same effect, and I'm not sure if you've heard this album. I'm pretty sure I've bragged about it in the past because of how highly I rank this album, but it's the band Panopticon and their album The Scars of Man on the once nameless wilderness. There's two parts, part one, part two. But in that album, it's a guy, it's a solo guy who does a black metal slash folk blend, and he's trying to do like almost a global warming awareness album, because at the very end you can hear a guy rambling about the forests and how humans ruin everything. It's just like, you know, a very environmentally conscious album, but in the same effect, that same album sounds very continuous from the first to the last. It sounds like one long song, really. It's hard to tell the breaks between each song unless obviously you're looking at it on your phone, like which song's switching. So for me, that's the vibe that I got this album. Except, you know, in the sake of all honesty, because obviously I am Serpent Tongue, I'm not really here to lie. I can't say that I dug the, you know, if if I was one of those people that could hear the incorporation of the black metal a bit more, then this album would be amazing. You know, I mean, this album would probably speak to me more. But because I hear so much screamo slash metalcore vibe in this, and then you hear the almost prog style of the continuism effect. To me, it's like two genres that don't blend well to me. You know, to me, screamo and metalcore are best done in short song influence. Kind of like how we were talking the other week about Black Flag. It's like that kind of genre is best with short songs, you know, short bursts of energy, and that's where it shines best. I think because for some reason I hear so much screamo influence on here. I think it may be a combination of the guitars and the vocals. They sound more of a screamo melody than they do a black metal melody when I hear the screams. Kind of like, you know, kind of like I'm listening to, what's an example, like a asking Alexandria vibe, where I'm listening to, you know, Fall in Reverse when they do the screaming part. Like for some reason, it's just so reminiscent of that era for me, and I don't feel the black metal vibe as much as I should. So because for that fact alone, I'm very critical of this album. But you know, at the end of the day, my opinion and your opinion, we're just two dudes talking metal. So it's like no one has to agree with us. And you know, you know, if someone is critical about one of our opinions, that feel free to comment about it, and then we can talk about it, because I'm open to debating about it. But yeah, for me personally, in my ears, I just hear such a strong screamo vibe, and then in my ears, in my mind, it's like mixing screamo with the prog style. It's not the best combination, even though I know it's meant to be black metal. But for some reason, every time I've replayed this album in my head, I just get that kind of vibe instead of what it's meant to be. So I don't really know what's wrong with it, but that's just my personal experience with it.
It's funny, isn't it, when you know, label, or when you're in a band and you're trying to label it, and if you're pulling from different influences, it sometimes doesn't really make sense what label you put on it. Like even my own band and different bands I've been in over the years, there has been a few bands I've been in where I put the post-hardcore label on it. And funny, I was chatting to not dropping names, but I was talking to Adam from Hate on the tour recently, and he asked me what our sound was, and I was saying, well, I mean, you know, I came from post-hardcore. That was my thing, and I basically play post-hardcore with a Viking influence sprinkled on top, and yeah, I call it Viking metal. So it's kind of like, you know, sometimes it's like a personal thing of how you feel as a person. You put your label on your music in that way, and I think that's what's going on here with these guys, because I think they have different musical backgrounds, that might, you know, I'd say it's JJ's vocals and his approach to writing has a bit of a contradiction there as well, because the lyrics he's writing is very almost emo, but like in a screamo kind of way. But yeah, his approach is a more blackened metal, blackened sort of vocal approach. So, and then you've got MS, he calls Matthias, is the instrument man behind this band, and he comes from a history of, like, black metal and post-hardcore bands that he's been in. And one notable band that I really love is Bifrost. He was with them in 2010. I think he just worked on arrangements more than writing. But Bifrost do a lot of Norse mythology based songs. So, when I heard Matthias was in them, I was like, sweet, that's cool. I'll give this man a bit more time. But yeah, so it is misleading in a way when you listen to a band and you have a label and it doesn't really match up. But I think with these guys, they do only in certain parts that they blend the sounds. I think majority of the time, to me, it's just melodic post-hardcore, which is which is really nice. But it can, like you say, that it kind of blends together. It can get a bit overbearing, a bit intense sometimes. But there's a couple of nice breaks in the tracks. Like there's one track, that the first track, Fire Walk With Me, has like a piano bit and it's real moody. There's lovely emotion in there, and there's great actually the lyrics, I don't know, man, did you find the lyrics really heavy emotionally? Like
Yeah.
I just found that they were just they were heart-wrenching at times, man. I was like, there was one cause the harder you struggle, the tighter the noose. That's in that first track, right? And straight away in the first track, you kind of pick up on lyrics like that, and you're like, ah, shit, right? Well, this chap is really venting his really heartfelt struggles in life, So I don't know. It kind of added to the atmosphere in a melancholic kind of way, if that makes sense.
One of the examples I was thinking of to describe this album, and it's gonna sound weird because my example is not even music related, but the way that I summarize these kind of albums is it's the same preference I have with tattoos. So for me with tattoos, I much prefer like individual styles with skin in between, so you can tell apart each design. I'm not really a fan of the whole sleeve mushed together. Like, yours are separated from what I can tell.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. You got skin in between, and for me, it's the same. Like I like, if an album's gonna be long, either in length or in quantity in the tracks, I think the songs for the most part should be separate. Should be able to tell between each song. And obviously there are examples like prog metal, and there are examples where long albums do work. And I'm not saying it can't, but I'm just saying for a sound like this, I think it would have been better personally to have a bit more distinction between each song. Which is ironic because I told you how the other day I was having a bit of fun and listening to The Wall. And it's just like, that's a long album, but each song has its own place, and it's like, and it all comes together for a concept. And I just feel like a lot of times when I was replaying this album, it kind of just got lost in me. Like I was trying to differentiate the songs, and I was trying to pay attention to when the songs changed, but like it's just it kind of in the same way how sometimes drone metal can sound. A band like Sun-O, if they're not careful, it can just sound like a big blob of just music, So I think for me personally, I did struggle with differentiating, but it doesn't mean it's a bad album. And the more I listened to it, the more I did pick up how each intro has its own, even though small, has its own distinct switch in, like, firstly either with pianos or something small in each intro to keep it differentiated. So I did appreciate that subtlety, but yeah, I can't lie. It's just even though the album is good, the production's amazing. It does have that really good post-hardcore vibe, and for what they were going for, I think they did achieve it. It's just for my ears, the combination, as I said, the combination of that kind of screaming mixed with that kind of production. I just wish I felt more black metal influence because I love black metal. It's no surprise, but if I had heard more black metal influence, I think that would have ended for a more enjoyable experience for me. But all I got off this was mainly post mixed with metalcore / screamo, which unfortunately those two styles together they don't seem to fit in my eyes. But yeah, I just wish there was more black metal influence to make this album that bit more I guess a bit more diverse for me.
Yeah, and on the next album, I think they found more of their sort of sound, and especially the recent one again, they've really kind of found what they were trying to do. And I think this was one of the early albums. I think they only had like maybe actually this was their fourth album. Yeah, because they started in 2012. And it is interesting because MS, he likes to call himself, he recorded, mixed, and mastered pretty much every album except for this one. He didn't mix and master this one, I don't think, but he produced it and recorded it. So it's interesting, but it was up for awards with Metal Hammer and what you call it, yeah, it done really well in the charts. They seem to be a really big band in Germany. Germany seems to be their kind of marketplace. Um, Not so much even in their own country, Austria. They it got to like number 35 in Austria, but it got to number 4 in the metal charts in Germany. So like it just goes to show it makes sense when you hear what they're playing, who they know who they appeal to, what country and what kind of market, So yeah, it's strange. I mean, they're signed to a German label as well, which probably helps that they're signed to AOP Records, and they're a fairly handy German record label. So you know, but it's strange because you listen to some of the lyrics, and I can't stop thinking about screamo lyrics. It's funny because I have a few more years on you, right? So post-hardcore was like my screamo. It was like as post-hardcore was a massive influence, but then it quickly turned into screamo, which then turned into metalcore. But I didn't really I didn't really hit on the screamo because at that stage I was kind of over that. I moved on elsewhere musically. So when I hear the post-hardcore vibes, I get that nostalgic feeling, which is probably making me a little bit biased in a way about what I'm listening to here. But there is a couple of other kind of sounds thrown in here that you wouldn't expect, like the track number 3, especially with the intro. And it's funny that you say about the intro and all these songs. It's almost misleading, a lot of these intros. Like you're kind of feeling into something, and then all of a sudden it switches up, which I usually like that. But if it switches up into a completely different vibe or just that intense black and metal kind of vibe, like track number 3, "You Are Scars," is it kicks into like a hymn vibe. Like it's like a very hymn kind of powerful chord progression kind of thing. But then it just has that heart wrenching, like I'm really upset about stuff. Like there's the one lyric in it: "I wasn't made for shallow waters. My heart is an ocean." It's a really well written lyric. Really, really, you can hear that they're passionate about what they're doing, what they're trying to convey. It means a lot to them, and that always, when I hear that on a record, it just shines out. Like it's not easy to capture that in a record. Your raw emotions on a record. And funny you mentioned about Black Flag. That band is able to put their emotions on a record. You know what I mean? And I think that's a special thing that they can do. And these guys are the same. When I seen them live, though, I didn't get the same vibe. It was intense, but it was a little, without sounding negative, it was a little confusing. What they were live, but I think if you stop thinking of labels, and just see it what it is, it's actually quite beautiful because they have this really nice dynamic live of MS's guitar playing. He plays like a lot of the clean stuff. And then they have their touring band, and he lets the leads go over to the other chap. I forget his name now. Bear with me. I'll tell you, a touring guitarist. Don't have it on my list. Well, that's brutal. Oh no, I do. No, I don't. I don't. Yeah, one guy I was really impressed with. But you want to see the drummer live, though. You talk about black and metal. The drummer actually, in this time frame, bear with me. This was 2018. Jays, I don't have anything written down that I want to talk about. Of all the drummers from all the other years. Anyway, I digress. It's just it's a powerfully emotional record with one song I want. Now that I'm talking about lyrics, I want to point out one thing about the Tomb Omnia song. It seems to me like the song is about a loss of a father that he lost before he was even born. And not really sure how that works physically in the world, but it's just so fucking heart-wrenching. It's like maybe he was a young child, you know, he was born, but the father died before he grew up and stuff. And it's just like it's the one of the lyrics is the loss of a father. Never mind. I don't know where my notes are gone today, but it was something that, anyway, it was very much like about a father that he lost, that he never met. And I just thought, shit, man, that's brutally fucking hard lyrics, you know. So anyway,
way to turn a heart-wrenching moment into something pathetic. You were trying to say something. Oh, never mind. Like, oh yeah, never
sure.
mind about your woes. Fuck your woes. Never mind.
Dude. That's
And
what happens when I don't drink a full cup of coffee before we start the podcast. You see, I'm only halfway through.
man, we're really on a roll today. You guys won't know it, but behind the scenes, it's it's quite the berserkerish episode. So yeah, like I said, it's just it is an interesting album for what it is. It's just, you know, obviously here we are, two hosts with two different perspectives on it. So that just proves that if you ask 100 people their opinions on this album, you probably get 97 answers. You know, so that's just that one. All right, before we talk about our favorite and least favorite tracks, what promotions do you have today?
Today I have. Oh, we are so prepared. Fucking out of here. That's it. I'm gone. I swear we haven't been drinking today. Today I have nobody to promote except for myself. I have a new EP coming out. If anybody wants to check it out, it's called Odin, and it's dedicated to the All Father, which is in hand dedicated to my amazing father, who I recently lost. So yeah, that'll be out in 2 weeks' time. The actual date is coming soon. So that's all. Just self-promotion today, bro.
Nice. Well, I'm going to do a few today. So first of all, shout out to our amazing Viking Trinkets. So for those who are, we both have the same thing. Viking Trinkets. So they are a company based in New Zealand, and they do Viking accessories. And would you believe that they don't actually, from who I talk to, they're not actually that familiar with heavy metal. You know?
Wow.
And I said to them, I'm like, you guys are a Viking accessory company. How are you on the middle? And they're like, yeah, it's shocking. So, but anyway, the ones that we have is the Binding of Fenrir. And it has, as you're showing, it has the two wolves connecting to the ring, and then the Thor's hammer on it. It's very durable. We both wear it every day. I wear it with the actual thing. I wear it to work. I wear it in the shower. I wear it everywhere I go. When I'm working, I just tuck it in. Easy. easy to hide, and obviously when you're out of work, easy. It's amazing quality. You can't find better anywhere else. And there's a sale going on right now from $119 to $59. You really don't want to pass up on that offer. And when you go to checkout, make sure you add the promo code SAGAS, which is SMP10, and get 10% off. And make sure you tell them once you get your product that the SAGAS Metal Podcast sent you. We also want to give a shout out to Mr. Josh Freeman, aka There Is Only One Elvis. He's been doing so much for us lately. And for those who aren't aware, we have our own merch. So thanks to Josh specifically. So if you want to get a hand on some SAGAS Metal Podcast merch, the early designs are out now, and there'll be more later on. Head to which I'll add in the link anyway, but check out DWI Clothing, one word, .theprintbar.com. That's DWI Clothing .theprintbar.com. That's for the Australian store if you're Australian. And go get some SAGAS merch. We have one design at the moment, which has the SAGAS logo at the back, and then on the front, the SAGAS logo at the front, and on the back it says, "Fuck work, listen to SAGAS." Or the other way around, I'm not sure. Either way, it has those two designs, and you get the long sleeve, the short sleeve, and the jumper. I ended up ordering the jumper, and I'm pretty sure you got yourself a short sleeve, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's already popping up. I got one of my cousins bought the designs, one of my aunties bought the designs. It's pretty cool. It's popping off, and also make sure to check out There Is Only One Elvis's designs as well, because this is a collaboration work with him. His merch is also amazing. So yeah, please go support us and him by picking yourself some merch, and be on the lookout for more merch on the way. And finally, because I haven't shouted them out in a while, the Gas Digital Network. So if you're like me and Ren, and you have a fucked up sense of humor that should send you into a mental asylum, then these guys are the guys for you. So the Gas Digital Network is a company that has, I think, over 30 shows, all vastly different. You have wrestling podcasts. You have a podcast with Zach Wilde. He has his own podcast on there. You have comedy podcasts. You have horror movie podcasts. You got literally everything you could ever want. But the one I'm talking about specifically is the Legion of Skanks podcast, which features 3 comedians, Big J, Lewis, Dave Smith, all three very different personalities, but they come together as co-hosts to run the As It's Dubbed, the most offensive podcast on earth. So it's 2 hours, 1 hour to 2 hours of very offensive comedy on purpose, obviously, because that's what they're named. And if that's your kind of thing, go check it out. If it's not, the Gas Digital Network has so many other shows in very different areas that I'm sure you'll love either way. So go check it out. Go watch one of the shows and get yourself a promo code for a cheaper fee every month. And yeah, go support the Gas Digital Network and Legion of Skanks if that's what you're into.
Excellent. Before we actually, do you know what? I just got a text message on my phone here on my watch, should I say, from Mr. Frank Beaver from United Music Mafia, and I would just like to give United Music Mafia a shout out. They're absolute legends, and they're pure grafters for all musicians of pretty much every genre. And they have a fight promotion now, and they're working on movies and stuff. So if you're a creative head and you're looking to get involved in something really cool that thinks a company that thinks outside the box, give them a shout. So there you go. That just made me think of that when Frank hit me up.
Nice. Well, all right, that's that. And now it's on to our very famous segment. Take it away, Ron.
The Devil's Advocate. The Devil's Advocate.
Nice. Very nice. So, Devil's Advocate, choosing our best and worst songs. So, I will start. The worst song for me was probably track 7, Void Gazer. And the only reason I chose this is because out of the 8 tracks, this is the track that had the least amount of versatility. It just sounded kind of like like a mashup of all the first 7 songs put together with no real original features to it. That's not a knock on the band or even the song. It's just how I took it. So it didn't do much for me, especially being 9 minutes and 15 seconds. So yeah, I mean, the others had a little tweak, a little thing unique about it. This one I just felt was, like I said, just kind of like a mashup of all the 7 so far. So yeah, not my not my favorite song there. But my favorite song on the album is actually, ironically, the last track on the album, Manifesto. And that's, I think, for the same reason as I said the worst one. This one is the most diverse track on the list. It's ironically also the shortest, which I just realized now. But 4 minutes and 58 seconds. It sounds like a really cool duet of sorts. It's definitely the song that stands out to me the most for all the good ways possible. It's different than the rest. It stands out on its own, and it's actually probably the perfect closer for this kind of album. So yeah, Manifesto, best song, Void Gazer, worst song.
Interesting. That's 50-50 this week, bro. So the one that I didn't agree with you on was the Void Gazer. Not that I don't agree with you, but my least favorite one is actually Stillborn. Now, that's track number 6. It's still a good song. I just find sonically it just didn't peg it ahead of the rest of them. There's a couple of nice features in it. You know, there's like a fat bass. There's this really nice tom and kick kind of rap sort of vibe in it as well. I like. There's this thing that these guys are doing on this album where it's a hard rock riff with this overtone of like intense. You could almost call it black metal. And it's strange. It's like it's a hopeful vibe with this somber, sad kind of, and it's interesting what they're doing because it's new to me, but it's still it's not sitting fully. So I don't know, that song, that was a big part of that song. So that's sonically why that song didn't get a thumbs up from me. But Manifesto, that's a killer tune, like, you know. I listened to this and straight away I thought to myself, Corbin's either gonna hate this or love this. And I was like, right, well, I think it's really cool because I was surprised that the female vocal came in. There's a really beefy chorus after the first verse of the female vocals, and then it comes back to the second kind of verse. And I swear I thought I was listening to Lady Gaga. Like, yeah, it's crazy, man. It's a very Lady Gaga-esque vocal technique that the lady done on this song. Should have looked up her name, but it worked though. You know, it was very cool. I mean, don't get me wrong. I actually technically Lady Gaga is a very good singer, so like this isn't an insult. There's just there's a nice vibe off it, but then there's delicious bass going through this whole album actually, and in this track in particular. But there's a bridge in this is the best part of the entire album. There's a bridge with the female vocals doing this airy kind of just chorus kind of choir kind of vibe in the background. And it's beautiful. It's the drums are my favorite kind of gallopy drums. Like, I love it. And then there's a sick, slick solo that's pretty bitchin'. And I really enjoyed that. Which was a very, very proggy, almost bluesy kind of solo, which kind of took me by surprise. And then the vocals, JJ's vocals on this track are the best vocal performance on the entire record, in my opinion. He's done a really, really good job. So that song, 100%, is a killer track. So I'm glad we both picked up on that one.
Nice.
Go team.
Nice. Episode 40 clocked. Do you happen to have an album in your head for next week? It's your choice this week.
Is it my choice?
You haven't had a choice in like 3 weeks.
Oh, that's very kind of you. No, see, I thought it was yours. So like, but I, bear with me for 2 seconds because there is an album I would like to do. Just off topic, I discovered last night Vince Neil's solo album from 1993. exposed. I didn't know he had one. It's actually really interesting. It's a interesting listen. I was driving around in the AM listening to that last night. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I thought I had something planned.
What's with you today?
I was thinking Dokken. I was thinking Jacko. I don't know. It's a. I'm overexcited today to do the podcast that I didn't really plan anything. Like I did think it was your turn, in fairness to me. But yeah, sure, we'll hit people up during the week. It'll make it nice anyway. It'll be a good one.
Nice. Cool. Well, that was the SAGAS Metal podcast, and as we always say, same time, same place, or something.
Or something.